So, adjusted for inflation, the 2024 election cost roughly 15 or 14.8 billion dollars. The congressional races were roughly 9.9 or 9.5 billion, and the presidential race itself was around $5 billion. So, you know, the only other election that was just as uh, costly as this was the 2020, which was roughly 18 billion. So 10 billion for the congressional, 7 billion for the presidential. We have Donald Trump, billionaire. We have sewer PACs, all these things. So how exactly did we get here? There's two main things I want to talk about in this video. So one is Citizens United versus FEC. So the original, how money got into politics, but how did we get there? So we have to go back to the 70s. So this is during the Nixon era. There's this thing called Watergate. It is essentially so Nixon is trying to get reelected. There's this committee. It's called the CRP, or also known as the Creep Committee. Essentially, what this committee wants to do is it's a committee to reelect the president, and what they do is they have, Nixon wants to get reelected. He wants to do it by any means necessary. They break into this place called Watergate. Watergate is this building in, I think, let me make sure. Pretty sure it's DC. Yeah, Washington DC. So the Watergate, in simple terms, that was where the Democratic headquarters took place. Nixon covered up the crime. The people that Nixon had were connected to his campaign. They were caught breaking into the DNC headquarters. They broke into the Watergate hotel complex. They tried to plant listening devices. They tried to steal documents so they could essentially see, what they were up against, how they were gonna, what could help Nixon get reelected. So mainly for wiretaps, intelligence, trying to sabotage the Democratic campaigns. So this is sort of where, these corporate donations, this cash, because essentially, the secret campaign fund, it was funded by corporations. They were a lot of different corporations. So right now I'm reading it now. We have the townhouse operation. So $3 million in undisclosed funds that were, slushed in to Republican campaigns. You have the Gulf Oil. So there was a $10 million slush fund around the 70s for foreign payments to Nixon's campaign. So in the 70s, like I said before, the creation of the petrodollar, so a lot of money there. American Airlines had a $55,000 cash contribution to Nixon's re-election campaign, and can't be doing that. There's a bunch of other companies. There's the dairy industry. There was some, I think, roughly $2 million in campaign contributions to Nixon's campaign. So around this time, the 70s, this happens. Americans are trying to lose control or lose faith in the control over the elections. So Congress passes the FECA, the Federal Election Campaign Act. Right after, so a year after, the FEC is created. FEC is the Federal Election Commission. Essentially, it's going to enforce campaign finance laws. So there's going to be limits on campaign contributions, more transparency in fundraising. There's certain things that they're going to have to disclose now. So you can't just, you have to have a reasoning behind how you got this money. So yeah, the townhouse operation was run by a Nixon aide. I think his name is Jack Gleason. All these corporate slush funds. You had Congress responding to it, the birth of the FEC. So right after this, you have Buckley versus Vallejo, which is a Supreme Court case. Basically, Buckley, a bit like to make. I don't want to make this video too long, but Buckley says that money is a contributor to speech, and so the court ends up striking down the limits on candidates spending their own money. But this is where the initial, the thought that money could be protected speech, which is the basis behind how Citizens United got basement behind the argument behind Citizens United versus FEC. Right after this, you have McCain and Feingold. So there is essentially what this does is you have the problem of soft money. So now, there's always going to be these loopholes. These loopholes, they always exist for almost everything. You have tax loopholes. You have so many other loopholes, with money, with financing, lots of other stuff, a bunch of shady stuff. But essentially, McCain, Feingold tries to fix these loopholes. You have a ban of soft money to parties. You have limited election ads by corporations and also unions. So what I'm reading from here is you have 30 days of a primary and 60 days of a general election. So these are limited election ads. Eventually, Citizens United happens, right? We get into this is around the time of Hillary. So I think Citizens United versus FEC takes place roughly, so it's around 2010. So just think 2010. It's a conservative nonprofit group. They want to make essentially it's a movie, a movie documentary about Hillary Clinton. It's close to the 2008 primaries, so it violates the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act. So they're putting restrictions on electioneering communications because 2008 from 1970, 80s, elections are different now. You have the internet, you have a lot of different things that make it, I wouldn't say harder, but there's a lot more things to take notice of, to manage with concerning elections. Essentially, what ends up happening is, the conservative nonprofit wants to make a movie, right before the Democratic primary. The FEC says, no, can't do this because of McCain-Feingold. McCain-Feingold, like I said, limited election ads, so you can't have them within 30 days of primary or 60 days of a general election. So what does Citizens United do? They sue. Citizens United sues based off of the previous, so their basement is of the previous of Buckley and Vallejo. So money can be protected free speech or protected speech. So then you get into, do corporations have free speech? So this is what Anthony Kennedy, the justice. So it's a 5-4 decision. The Supreme Court rules that the government cannot ban political spending by corporations. Essentially, what this really means is that money is equal to free speech, because corporations have so much more money than either you or I. So they can get lobbyists, they can get certain things passed, get their voice heard a lot more than you and I could. Who are you going to listen to more? A corporation or a donor that helps you get elected, or just random Joe on the street that says, oh, you should raise taxes on corporations, but yeah, they don't really give a fuck about Joe because he isn't filling up their pockets. So yeah, but yeah, this is how eventually, this is how money got into politics. There's always been, I think there's been a sentiment because, you know, everything is so visible now with social media. So there's this sentiment that it's always been this way, or it's always, and no, in reality, elections are still, you know, elections are still run, or they were run by bigger interests than you or I. But it used to be that corporations, they were on a bit of a leash. Now it's the other way around. Corporations have the government on a leash because these things. That's why I think, in my opinion, that the presidency isn't the main thing. A lot of the things that a president can do, the executive branch, not just the place of the presidency, electing judges, stacking the Supreme Court. These are things that last. They make or break a legacy. So Trump has gotten so many Supreme Court justices. He got Amy Coney Barrett. He got, I want to say, did he get Kavanaugh? He got Amy Coney Barrett. He got, Brett Kavanaugh. He got Neil Gorsuch. So 3 out of, I want to say, 9 Supreme Court. So he has 1/3 of the Supreme Court has been solely appointed by one president. Mind you, just some basic knowledge, a Supreme Court justice is different than Congress or presidency, because they are there for life. It is way different. You don't get just to vote them out, or they don't just run their term. They run that shit till they die, or and which, funnily enough, Trump replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of the major Ruth Bader Ginsburg, so a huge proponent for women's rights, a lot of these things, and the person that she got replaced with ended up helping getting Roe v. Wade overturned. So it's just, that's the things of life. But yeah, so money has not always been in politics. It's been there. It's been there, but to this level, it's preposterous. It is insane in the membrane. So then you have, right after, what happens is, so Citizens United doesn't create super PACs, but it leads to the creation of super PACs. If you follow my gist. So right after this, boom, Citizens United just won a freaking huge case. They just want to they basically slam dunk that shit. After SpeechNow.org versus FEC in 2010. So it's a follow-up case. So essentially, what this case does, it allows groups to make independent, mind you, independent, that's the wording, independent expenditures to raise unlimited, with a UN, not limited, contributions. So you have a candidate, there's supposed to be contribution limits, but then you get that super PAC money. When you get that super PAC money, then what they say goes. That super PAC money turns you from a bum to one of one. Because, boom, they got unlimited fundraising, unlimited spending, and spend on that shit like till the cows go home. You got money for days. 4 days. So you got super PACs, then you get dark money. Because the difference is, don't really have to publicly disclose the donors. So who fucking knows where the money comes from? I mean, you don't really have to. You don't really have to explain those things because, yeah, it's really bad. You know, if there is one thing I say that if we could turn around in our lifetimes, if we can get that Supreme Court case overturned, it is going to be huge. Being able to get money out of politics is like one of the main things. I know people say, well, oh, elections are expensive, so when you do this or that, like, honestly, now, social media, you have a lot of bad, but you also have, you can run a solid fucking campaign. If you know what you're doing, and you're not fucking detached from reality, you can run a solid campaign on real issues, on substantive issues. So I had mentioned before that elections aren't really run on policies nowadays. It's really just like, I am this. I stand for this. But I don't really do anything. I say I stand for things. I'm a Republican, or I'm a Democrat. I stand for Democrat things, or I stand for Republican things. But reality is, they stand for what their donors say. You don't really need policies like for example, during the 2024 or 2020 elections, I think when healthcare was one of the issues they're talking about, Trump said, I have a concept of a plan. I have concepts. And I think one of the remarks, I don't know if it was Trump or Biden that did it, but I think they wanted to do something called Trump Care or Biden Care, which is essentially just fucking, it's going to be a rehash of Obamacare under the Affordable Care Act. But you notice how the wording behind it makes it sound like it's a new idea, but in reality it's not. That's why I'm saying that elections are won based off marketing. But if you're also able to market on an actual issue, then that's how you get a unified that's how you get a fucking coalition. That's how you get people that are actually down to fucking vote. It's not that people like are uneducated or stupid. Like, people care. They care about things. Like, whether on the right or the left, there are issues that you find in common. Money. At the end of the day, everyone just wants to be left the fuck alone. They don't really want. They notice things. Whether you're on the right or the left, there's that's why I say populism. It's one of the most ignored sentiments in the United States. But it's like one of the biggest. If you can capitalize upon that, that's gonna be a fucking generational wave. But you just need the right people to do it. It's there, but you just need to harness it. That's really what I'm trying to say. But yeah, money doesn't. People say money isn't the key to everything, but it opens a shit ton of doors. It's not gonna guarantee. You can throw a fucking shit ton of money if you have the personality of a fucking boiled egg. People aren't gonna vote for you. But you get advertising, you get staff, you get teams, legal teams, data analytics. What states you need to harp in on. So money is very important. So yeah, money is free speech. Will we be able to survive even more billion-dollar elections? I don't know, but we should have never even got here in the first fucking place. This should have never happened. When you got back to Watergate and you go back and you read all these things, billions of dollars on fucking elections? Like, really? Like, I'm pulling up this graph, right? And over 11,000 political groups spent $14.7 billion to influence the 2024 election. $14.7 billion. Which, like, first of all, who's that fucking bored that they're willing to spend that much money? Like, god damn, bro, you're a fucking supervillain. Like, really? God damn, that much fucking money? Like, holy shit. You got money to burn for days. But, right, so we go to 2024. Before that, like, it shouldn't even be, like, it's not even a fucking question. 1998, adjusted for inflation, it's $3 billion. Like, that's fucking insane. No. You're telling me in fucking 20 years, adjusted for inflation, mind you. So if we do not adjusted by inflation, it's 1.6 billion. So you're telling me in fucking what, 20 years? There's over a 10 times increase in money for these shitty candidates? Like, you're gonna tell me Trump, Hillary, and Biden are they're the candidates of the fucking century. These are, you got your Julius Caesar, you got your Alexander the Great, you got your fucking Cleopatra. These are like candidates that all fucking make fucking statues of them. No, these are shit candidates. These are shit candidates. These are shit candidates. There is no fucking normal world where Trump, Biden, and Hillary are the best we have to fucking offer. To spend that much fucking money? Like, are we fucking dead ass? Like, really? But yeah, I don't want to make this video too long, but Citizens United, FEC, one of the worst Supreme Court cases, period, in the United States.